Alright, here we go. First official video I'm putting out as part of my veteran vacationer thing. I'm starting my YouTube channel here. So this first one, I'm trying to play off the whole March Madness that's currently happening right now. I wanted to make a Disney Heroes 64 bracket, just breaking down each hero, kind of like my perspective on them as a hero, and how they would line up against other heroes in the Disney universe. Now, what I didn't include, even though it hurt me, I didn't include Star Wars into this. I'm going to have that's obviously separate, because obviously I feel like half the list was Star Wars people. I feel like I try to focus more just Disney movies, and it really hurts me, but I didn't, for those of you who are thinking, I didn't also include Sora, even though Kingdom Hearts is definitely one of my favorite Disney things they've done. But I didn't include Sora, because I felt like, again, that would skew some other people in this list that really skew, Mickey, Goofy, Donald, just give a whole different view on some of these other people. So I was like, all right, we'll just stick just movies. We'll go from there. And, maybe in a future list, or you guys want to leave some suggestions, I'll go into some of those others. But to start things off, all right, I kind of even tried to keep it the same way as like a Mark Match tie bracket, your one seeds. I didn't, do the whole, 1 to 16 different thing. I just did straight 1 to 64. But I will tell you, there's definitely some upsets in here. Some people that I think everybody's interested by my selections. I'll explain, each as we go through. But starting off, for me, obviously a one seed has to be Mickey. He's icon. Did a lot of heroic things, saving Minnie throughout. And obviously a bunch of different TV shows and stuff like that. He's the OG. Give him his credit. He's a one seed, all right? Now, 64 Winnie the Pooh. People are probably going to be upset at this because a lot of people like Winnie the Pooh, but I don't think Pooh necessarily does a lot of heroic things, so I'm not going to put Pooh that high because of that, in that factor. So obviously, right there, that's going to be the first matchup, Mickey versus Winnie the Pooh. I'm shrunk my screen of this I made, so that way I'm going to hopefully hide some of these winners as we go through. By the time we get to the end of the bracket, and I'll show at the end a full view of the entire bracket, show you what all I did and everything. Next on this is going to be Dodger versus Prince Philip. So I've got them basically about the same, 32-33. I think Dodger doesn't get enough credit for what he did in his movie. Just helping Oliver out, keeping out of trouble with the villain in that. And I think Prince Philip gets a little too much credit, honestly. I feel like yes, he fights Maleficent, cool. That's really kind of it. There's not really much else to it. And I feel like, again, Dodger being just a dog, right? Not even just like a human, anything like that, went way out of his way. Yeah, he had some moments, which brings a little more down the list, but I think he's a solid matchup right here versus Prince Philip. Next, Stitch, and then a very underrated, I didn't know how to put him really on the list, because as I was making the list too, I was like, oh, what about this person? What about this person? But Jim Hawkins from Treasure Planet. A, Treasure Planet doesn't get enough love. B, Jim Hawkins in general doesn't get enough love, especially what he did in the movie, the heroic things he did against Stitch. All right, everybody's lovable. Stitch from Lilo and Stitch. Again, he's not obviously top, because again, he's not necessarily heroic per se. He does heroic things at the end of the movie, but at the beginning, definitely not heroic. Next, coming down. So again, giving another movie some love. Milo from Atlantis. Again, doesn't get enough credit. The movie doesn't get enough credit. Don't want to get him on this list. I got him actually pretty decently up there, because again, does some pretty heroic things in that movie. Again, fighting for the people of Atlantis, gets credit for that. And then Miguel from Coco, again, good, needs to be on here, but not super stellar high tier. Again, it was really only his family rated, and just bringing out the whole, getting rid of that scandal with Ernesto de la Cruz. That's kind of the big thing, but it's not super heroic in that sense. It's just heroic for their specific family story. All right, Buzz. Obviously, a lot of stuff with Buzz Lightyear movie. Toy Story, in the sense of the heroic and the toy factor, that's why he's not higher, because it's only really toy more related on that end. So that's why I have him a little lower, not obviously a top, top 8 where a lot of people might think Buzz might be. I'm slightly lower than that. And Ralph from Wreck-It Ralph, again, just lower, just because, again, like, he started, not grand, so he built himself back up, but again, like, not making a huge difference like in his story, not making as big a difference as I'd want to be higher on the list. And again, he's one of those ones that I was like, I need to put him on, but like, where do I put him? How high do I rank him? I just feel there's people higher ranked than him. So that's where he went. Next, Arthur. Now, this is an interesting one. Arthur from Sword in the Stone. Again, like, thinking of his whole story, and like, I took Arthur a little further because obviously, like, the lore of Arthur in general, besides the movie, I feel like he deserved to be a little higher on the list, because of just in general that, and I give him a little extra credit based on that, like, aside from just the movie. But again, has a big, story in that regard. Eric, not much, again, yes, took out Ursula, cool, but like, it's really basically it, and he got bamboozled for most of it, so like, again, give him a little credit, but not as much I think a lot of other people would. Actually, let me spell Prince right, fix that. Next, Beast and Jack Skellington. So Beast, again, not going to be super high up there, like, took a while to be heroic in the movie. Was obviously pretty not grand person at the start, so again, gets hit, pretty good for that, but again, good heroic stuff at the end, so that's bumps him back up, and again, iconic character. Jack Skellington, he's on here. He gets some points, but he definitely gets hit a lot, just because, again, like, his motives in the movie of what he was trying to do really hurts his heroic kind of side of it. But again, I want to get him on here. Night Before Christmas, great movie, needs some representation on the list, but again, not going to be high up on the list, because again, really his motives of the whole wanting to do Christmas wasn't exactly the greatest. He didn't get the right idea of it. Next, coming down, Simba, Flynn Rider. Simba, iconic, right? Just, didn't really necessarily do much bad, besides obviously should have gone to Elephant Green Graveyard, bad idea, but really redeemed himself in the whole story of kind of coming back. He didn't have no reason to really come back. He was eating fat and happy with Timon and Pumbaa, but came back, saved the pride. Cool. Flynn, heroic, yes, but again, one of those things where it took a while to get there. And again, it's really only related to, just saving Rapunzel herself. Like, it wasn't really anything much he was saving outside of that. It's only really one person, so again, doesn't get him high up on the list. Next, Mulan and Mufasa. So again, I had to put Mufasa on here too. Again, as a kind of character, did a lot of stuff, kind of laid that groundwork as, like, setting the story for Simba, and just trying to sacrifice himself, landed, going down, but was trying to save Simba from a, not very savable situation. So get some points on that, but again, kind of low. It wasn't in the movie, obviously, that long. Mulan, huge points. Saved China. Like, crazy amount of points for Mulan. Didn't save just herself, just one person, a couple people, like, saved an entire country. Mulan gets a lot of bonus points, doesn't get enough credit. Coming down. Alright, this one. Alright. So people might scoff. Peter Pan's a little low, but what really did Peter Pan necessarily do that's heroic? Not much. Like, he didn't have to take the kids, but took the kids. Put them into danger by taking them to Neverland to get shot at by Captain Hook and all the shenanigans with that. And, like, yes, he saved them in the end, but he really putzed around a little too much with Captain Hook. So, like, again, doesn't get a lot of points. Pongo and Perdita do not get enough credit for, like, the whole, like, dogs get taken, putting the call out, running all the way across England to go save their dogs, save their puppies, and then bring in a bunch of other dogs with no qualms whatsoever. Like, all right, we'll take, 99 dogs with us. Sure, why not? And then again, traveling all the way back to London, avoiding Cruella. Like, they get a lot of points in my book based on that. Pocahontas and Lightning McQueen. Lightning McQueen, again, not on the list. He's an iconic character, but again, doesn't necessarily do much heroic stuff. Kind of causes a lot of his own issues, throughout the movies. A lot of just self-centered stuff. So again, he gets lower. Pocahontas, again, big icon, Native American people. She's going to be up there, right? Just a lot of heroic stuff to help save her people. Gets points for that. All right. This is the end of my trigger some people. Tiana and Wally. Again, Tiana, she has to be on the list, but her stuff really only relates to herself. Now, obviously, like, getting rid of Dr. Facilier, that's good. He was definitely a bad villain, you know, but again, it wasn't necessarily she did to help other people. It was just for her own story's sake. So again, not going to get a huge amount of points. Wally, I'm giving Wally a lot more points. Is again, saving that plant that kind of can restore humanity, you know, gets them obviously off the ship, off from that, you know, just the lazy lifestyle that people that were on the ship in is like rebuilding humanity. That's a lot of points for the rebuilding humanity part. That's why he's ranked higher. Going down here, Merida and Lilo. Merida, you know, again, like, does a lot of stuff for her family, saving them, saving her mom. And again, she's getting a little hit because of, again, the stuff she did to kind of start the whole situation. She's getting hit for that, but again, very brave and heroic throughout the whole story, fighting Mordu, giving her points. Lilo, again, she's there. I want her on here. Again, not getting much. Again, she's not really doing much heroic stuff. Like, yes, she kind of rehabilitates Stitch into becoming heroic, but again, not much herself per se, you know, saving people and whatnot. Next, Jasmine, Carl. Jasmine again, you know, for her, it's definitely a mix of, like, you know, saving the people of Agrabah, helping them out, trying to get rid of Jafar. Obviously, she could tell Jafar is a bad dude. You know, kind of works with Aladdin eventually to do that. So again, she's getting some points. She has to be on the list. One of those Disney princesses, got to be on there. Carl. Again, you want him on here, just, you know, some upper representation, but again, not high because he could have easily not gone on that thing at all. You know, Russell basically kind of forced him to do it per se. You know, I would definitely think, but like, again, in his journey, did some heroic things, you know, but it's like a while to actually get him to go on said journey, so he's going to get hit because of that. Next, Asha and Minnie. Alright, that's going to hurt some people. They probably think she should be higher, but again, like, I feel like in a lot of her stuff, she's more getting saved than doing a heroic thing herself. Yes, there are some she does. So again, she's like, that's where she's middle tier on the list. But again, she's getting saved, I feel like, more than she is doing the saving or doing heroic things. And again, there's a lot bigger heroes on this. So again, she's kind of middle tier. But I want to give her some credit, just again, being one of those OG icons. Asha, again, I feel like the Wish movie really got bashed because, again, it wasn't what I think a lot of people wanted to hype it up to be as like the big, you know, Disney 100 kind of movie. But again, it was a good movie in the sense of, like, she was a good hero in it, found out, you know, this whole thing with the king, and then, you know, obviously be heroic to kind of like try to, you know, to get the kingdom back away from his clutches, from all the stuff he was doing. And everything, all the bad things he was doing, you know, preventing people's, you know, wishes getting done, stuff like that, how evil he ended up turning because of the whole thing. Definitely should get some good hero points based on, again, helping a wide swath of people in that whole kingdom. Woody, again, I'm giving Woody some credit just because all the stuff he did, you know, he didn't always go about it the right way, but had a heroic way of thinking of helping Andy, you know, helping the person in his life, helping their toys. Again, iconic Disney hero. He's going up there. Dumbo, he's here, but again, Dumbo didn't really do much heroic, so I'm not going to get much of Dumbo. But I want to, you know, still have Dumbo on here. Alright, hopefully I don't show too much when I try to slide up here to the other side. Oh, didn't work. Alright, other side here. Alright, so Moana and Alice. Alright, Alice, again, neither on the list, you know, again, but she's not really doing much heroic stuff per se, right? But she's on here. Moana, I mean, yeah, that's, again, kind of self-explanatory, save her people, get a bunch of stuff in that heroic side, you know, to, you know, again, fighting against all these other gods and whatnot, you know, Tekka, everything like that, like, definitely heroic, trying to do all this stuff to bring, you know, heal her island to help her people out. She's going to be high up here. Next, Mirabelle and Cinderella. Cinderella, you know, again, one of those icons. She did heroic things to kind of get out of the situation she was in, with her, you know, evil stepmother, stepsisters. So again, and she's, you know, again, one of the OGs. She's going to be up here, but again, really only pertains to her story, so not going to get a crazy amount of points in that. That's why she's middle tier. Mirabelle, Again, a little more just because again, like she saves her family from like a lot of problems they were having. It kind of helps that family grow and heal. And it's not just about herself; it's about everyone in the family. So again, she gets more points than Cinderella, but still like made the list. But again, you gotta have her on here. Next, Belle and Pluto. Again, I had to put Pluto on here. Definitely does some things to help out Mickey and others. But again, not going to be super high up. Again, just not helping a lot of people outside of that. Belle, she gets good points again. Got her putting Beast back on that good track of healing, getting to go him to be a hero. Does some heroic things like going to get her father. And stuff like that, but again, not like super high up there. It doesn't really affect people like that many people outside of her own story and outside of like Beast Castle. Next, Sully and Kuzco. Kuzco had to be on the list. Emperor's New Groove needs that love, but he's not going to get a lot because again, was kind of just not great at the beginning. We'll call it. And again, he needed a lot of nudging in order to get heroic in the story of Emperor's New Groove. So he's going to be on here, but pretty low. Sully, I think I give him a lot of extra credit because he realized early on, like, wait, maybe we're not doing the right thing. But the scaring thing from dealing with Boo and how, like, he almost immediately clicked of, like, we need to help Boo out. I think of a lot of, in that, story of monsters, a lot of monsters would not have done that so quick. Now, obviously, Monster Diversity, again, he took longer to come along, so he gets a little bit of a hit on that. That's why he's kind of, again, like the lower tens. But I still think not be able to give him enough credit for what he did. Next, Judy Hopps and Phineas and Ferb. All right, Phineas and Ferb, one of my favorite TVA shows of Disney. Had to put them on here. Again, they don't really do many heroic things like in the movies in Phineas and Ferb. They have some like moments. That's why we'll give them a little bit of an edge on some others. But again, they were not heroics. They're just building fun things to do with the summer. And I get a lot of crazy points for that, but they got to be on here. Other Judy Hopps, right? Obviously heroic in her own sense of like bringing, some representation for smaller animals in the world of Zootopia. All the stuff she did to bring out that, to fight those stereotypes and bring out what was going on, finding out about Merriweather, stopping that, Zootopia 2, all those stuff in there. Gets a lot of points in that. That's what puts her so high up on the list for me. All right, Ariel and Aurora. Aurora doesn't do incredibly much in the story. Gotta have her on her. She was one of the OG princesses, but again, she's not doing too much heroic stuff. She's more goes, touches Spindle down, and Prince Philip has to save her. So she's more the get saved from the heroics than do the heroics herself and everything. But again, gotta have her on the list. Ariel, I would say I give her points because of being heroic in the sense of creating that new bond between the surface world and in the ocean, because it definitely was pretty rocky at the start of Ariel. But obviously her saving a human and obviously being married to one at the end, I think that is pretty heroic of helping bring a better bond between the ocean world and the human world and the aerial landscape of things, and obviously saving Eric when the ship's on fire. But again, not going to be super high up because it didn't save a lot of people. Just again, she has get some more bonus points because of that though. Baloo and Kermit. All right, Kermit, I had to put him on here, and I love Kermit. That's why I got kind of middle tier. Very heroic in the sense of all the work he does to help keep the Muppets, in the spotlight, keep the Muppets from going crazy with each other. He's definitely the glue that keeps the Muppets' craziness intact, which is, I think, pretty heroic to keep the crazy Muppets together. But again, it doesn't really save lives per se, so I'm not going to be super crazy up there. Baloo, again, protecting Mowgli, that's heroic. All the stuff they did, with the tiger and all that type of stuff, and from King Louie, heroic things. But again, it only relates to just Mowgli himself, so again, not going to get a super amount of points because of that. Robin Hood, Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins, a lot of people like her. She's just low because she doesn't really save any lives, right? She just helps those kids, kind of become better kids, but that's really it. Again, not saving a life, not crazy heroic, but again, iconic Disney characters, gotta be on the list. Robin Hood. Now, I have Robin Hood high because his whole shtick is just heroic things to make people's lives better and to like help people out. Again, robbing from the rich, giving the poor. All this stuff with King John, was again just helping the poor out. Like that's heroic in a nutshell. He's gonna get a lot of points because of that. Rob Hood's one of my favorite movies. He needs some extra props because of all that. Next, Anna and Pinocchio. Pinocchio, he's on here again, iconic Disney character, but isn't really heroic. Kind of caused a lot of his own issues in the Pinocchio story. Not getting heroic points, he's down there. Anna, she's got to be pretty high up there, right? All the stuff just saving her sister out, sacrificing her sister at the end of Frozen 1, everything in Frozen 2. Like, this girl got no powers, and she's running around this world trying to help her sister who has all these powers that could be doing something, but is, emotionally torn and everything like that. Like, going crazy. Definitely heroic stuff, obviously with the heroic of, saving Arendelle itself in the first one, then saving Arendelle again in the second one, and also, like, just, saving that other part of the kingdom in the second one. Anna gets a lot of points. Didn't spell Tarzan. There we go. I forgot the Z. Tarzan Mater. Mater, again, iconic character. Heroic in the sense of, like, redeeming Lightning McQueen. Not crazy. Not going to be up there too high. Tarzan, again, heroic for, like, protecting the gorillas from... I'm totally blanking on his name now. Clayton. But again, like, that's really kind of the extent of it. Just in that story, he's heroic. He's not going to get super many points, but heroic in what he did in that story. Next, Elsa and Aladdin. Elsa, again, she's getting more down here because, like, she caused the problem and Arendelle was freaking out about her powers. Obviously, it's not very heroic. But again, redeemed herself, came back in the end, and, she did a lot of the heroic things also in Frozen 2. She gets pretty higher up there. Aladdin, again, it's hard, like, yes, Aladdin's a hero, but it's hard to put him that high because, again, it was more, like, self-centered things of, like, the things he was heroic for. He wanted to be heroic for himself, not necessarily for, like, others, per se. So, again, that's why he's lower, because a lot of stuff's more self-centered around him and, helping himself out more than other people. Next, Marlin and Snow White. Snow White, she's down here, doesn't really do much, right? Not, really heroic on her side. She ran away because the queen was going to kill her. And then the dwarves did more of the heroic thing, taking out the, the evil queen, trying to protect Snow White. Not going to be high. Marlin does not get enough credit, right? People think Disney heroes. I don't think many people at all think Marlin. But the fact if Sun gets kidnapped by a boat, or a butt, as some of the other fish call it, travels across the ocean to save his child, going against sharks, jellyfish, all this different stuff, like crazy. And then again, Finding Dory, doing it all over it again. Just risking it all, just being just a little clownfish. So, like, major hero points, right? Just needs way more credit in that end. Joy Baymax. Baymax, he's kind of... It's getting a little weird because he's a robot. He's kind of programmed to help, so like he doesn't really know how to not help. But again, gonna give Baymax a lot of credit based on that. When he does the sacrifice himself in the movie. Hopefully it wasn't a spoiler. It's been out a while, kind of too late for a spoiler. And then Joy, like yes, like again, Inside Out needs representation on the list, but again, not really much heroic. Her kind of like oversensitivity to everything caused a little bit of issues too. So again, not gonna be able to hide. Again, she only deals with Riley, so again, only one person. Not a lot of hero points in that endeavor. Next, Rapunzel and Thomas O'Malley. All right, Thomas O'Malley, definitely needs some hero points. Needs some Aristocats representation on here. But just in terms of just like helping, Duchess and the kittens out, getting away from Edgar, helping them out with all that. Kind of got away from his, self-centeredness, kind of bachelor lifestyle I was living to help them out. Get him some points, get him on the list. Rapunzel, again, heroic of like her escaping the tower, having, the courage to do that. Again, because like she's been, not mind controlled, but basically like gaslit into her situation that she's in. But got out of it, and again, like was very heroic in bringing Flynn Rider, into the heroic side, with all the kind of character change she helped him with. But obviously in general, like just, all the stuff to, get back into it, iconic Disney princess, Shizzy down here is not completely high up. Seeing him as more focused on her story. Next, Nick Wilde, Donald Duck. They're about even on this one. Nick Wilde again, he's getting a hit because again, it took him a while to kind of get over, out of his, scheming ways, we'll call it. But eventually, obviously, gets there for Zootopia 1, Zootopia 2, a lot of stuff too. But again, there's conflict in both. So again, he's not going to be super high up on the list because of that. Donald Duck again, yes, has some stuff in his stories that he does, heroic things, but not always. So again, not gonna be crazy up, and again, it only pertains to his story. Not get a lot of points because that, but you gotta have Donald on here. All right, Hercules and Bambi, the last two of this, of finishing the whole bracket here of everybody who's on it. Hercules, fighting off all these monsters, saving all the people in the town, and everything, and then obviously fighting the Titans, fighting Hades. He's gonna be up here. He everybody should know he's gotta be I think for anyone, you have to at least put him in your top 4 to 6 somewhere. Because of what he did. I got him at 2. Hercules, easy, one of my favorite movies. So slightly biased, but still, just generally speaking, what he did, heroic. Bambi, how to have Bambi on here, but really not much going on there. Bambi didn't really do anything crazy heroic. Bambi's here. All right. So that is going to be... Fix this. As you can probably see, I'm still trying to learn how to YouTube. So, that's the thing. But yeah, that's the first 64. I talked for half an hour, so I'm gonna stop here. And then tomorrow I'm gonna post again, breaking down the 64 going to 32. We'll see how long that takes and how long I get from there, and can I go from there. But thanks. Hope everybody enjoyed my kind of breakdown how I thought of this. 1 through 64. Hope you guys keep watching to see the back half of it. See me finish this thing up. Break it down. Going from all the way to number 1. If you want to comment, any thoughts of what I put. If there's anything else you'd like to put, my numbering to people. If there's any number you'd like to change. That'll be pretty hard when you're sitting there doing it, and I'm trying to write a whole paper on I'm writing the bracket myself on paper of everybody. Then oh, I forgot them. Oh, I forgot them. So some of my numbering, especially in the middle, kind of I was I feel all right about this, making it slightly better. But yeah, just leave me a comment if you have any different thought. Just starting this thing out. If you want to subscribe, that'd be great. If not, get it. Hopefully my future videos will, you'll like what I'm doing. You want to subscribe and then go from there. But this is Matt, the Veteran Vacationer. Have a good one.